Hi, I'm Erin, and I write fantasy fiction and poetry.
And I'm Kaylee, and I write fantasy and science fiction.
And today is a special video because we're going to be interviewing Kaylee about her upcoming novel, or maybe by the time this goes up, it may already be published. I don't know.
Who can say?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Only future us.
Only future us can say. But regardless, let's find out more about what she's been working on. So, what is your book called?
So, my book is called The Call of Wind, and it is the first book in the Unmarked series.
Nice.
Yes.
So what is it about?
It is about two brothers who live in the nation of Eshira, which is a nation that worships Gaia, the goddess of plants. Elias is the younger brother, and he's a little bit of an outcast because his dad is from a different country, and Eshirans are very xenophobic. And the older brother, Marc, is actually a priest of Gaia and a life caller, and he's like, he's really moving up in life, getting a good station. And Elias learns that he's a windcaller and has to go find a rune, which is they get tattooed on their hands, to stop him from becoming corrupted by this magic. Marc helps his brother escape some people who are after him and kind of loses that station. He gets kicked out of the Grove, which is their church, and gets sent to fight in a war. And Elias is then on a quest for a rune while Marc is fighting for his life.
Yeah, cool. All right. Question. So what was the inspiration for this story?
Well, there's a lot of different inspirations for this story. I think the thing that started it wasn't so much a specific inspiration, but more a moment of desperation in which I had a really, really horrible day at work, and I'm not a huge crier. This day at work left me, I had to leave work to go cry. I was very upset. And then I was like, what am I doing? What I wanted to do was be a writer. Why haven't I been pursuing that with everything I have, if that matters so much to me? So I was like, all right, the reason I haven't pursued this is because I have too much built up about it. I'm too much of a perfectionist. I need to just let it go. So I'm just going to write a book in a month from start to finish to get rid of all of that fear I have about finishing and writing a book. And I was like, what would be an easy book? And I was like, Hero's Journey. I'm just going to do Hero's Journey. And then I was like, what's an easy fantasy setting? I was like, it's going to be elemental based magic system with gods. I was like, that feels pretty basic. And so it started with just that. And at first, Elias, the younger brother, was the main character. There was no other POVs. Marc didn't exist. And it was just very he's there, mentor arrives, call to adventure. They do the thing. And then when I got to the end, I was like, I don't know what happens here. So once I finished it, I was like, well, there's more story here past this because I've raised all these questions. And also, I don't like it. So then I rewrote it, added in Marc, kind of fleshed out the world a lot more. Trying to think other things that kind of inspired. Sorry, can you say, the question was what inspired it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I guess, where I was when I started, that was the stuff that got me writing it. And I guess different things that inspired it is I'm reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson right now. And I really like the way he explores religion in his books. In his books, the gods are all real, but how people perceive the gods is different depending on who they are. So there's a lot of that in my book. I really like books that explore family relationships and sibling relationships. So I think that kind of inspired it a little bit. And just lots of little things that I could trace down probably more inspirations, but I think it would take a really long time. So
okay. Gotcha. Okay. So what kind of characters are in this book?
So that's a great question. Characters, I think, were something that I struggled with a little bit in writing this book. Elias, who's the one character who's persisted throughout, well, not the one character, but he was the main character first, except his name used to be Pietro, which I'm glad I changed it. No offense to Pietro out there. Your name is beautiful.
It just didn't fit.
It wasn't the vibe. So, he was kind of your generic I'm a fantasy main character guy, and was really boring. And I think the thing that really fixed his character was adding in his older brother, because I was able to be like, his older brother, I had like a specific archetype of a type of person in my head when I created him. And I was like, okay, the older brother is a rule follower. He's kind of self-sacrificial. He's like very literal and like this, you know, that kind of a person. And then I was like, okay, the younger brother is going to be kind of the opposite of that. I was like, he's going to be more easily distracted. He's more impatient. He cares less about what the people above him have to say, not as much as a rule follower. And having that kind of dynamic between the two of them really helped make both of them better. And then I would say my favorite character is Elias's uncle, who comes in also at the beginning of the book and is helping Elias find a rune. He's a really interesting character that kind of came to me like somewhat fully formed, and like I don't think his personality has changed a ton when I've been writing him, but like as I've written him, I've like just feel like I'm getting to know him better, which is kind of interesting. And he has a couple of POVs, and I love writing things from his perspective. I just think he's a really interesting person. So
Cool. He is really interesting.
yes,
too.
he's my favorite one to write.
Nice. Okay. So what kind of world is this book set in?
So this book is it's set in a second world fantasy. So they're not on Earth. They're on some random made up place. And it's kind of medievally, and it's also kind of like, you know, The Last Airbender, right? The classic elemental fantasy story. The bending powers that they have really affect the world they live in. And that's true for this one too. Eshira, because they have the life callers and stuff like that, they tend to rely more on like things you can get from like plants and like natural materials rather than like refining metals and things like that. They have that a little bit, but like not a lot. So they're technologically a little bit further behind than some of their neighbors. And then like there's another nation that the one they're at war with, we don't learn a ton about in book one. They're kind of like mysterious. But they're a little bit technologically further ahead. And then there's the Centauran Empire, which is where Elias's dad and uncle are from, that is almost like more Renaissance era type of technology and culture almost, but like different. So I very much, I don't know. I think it's very stereotypical for fantasy to be inspired by Europe. And I did that in this one. I'm not going to do it in all of my books, but I did kind of just like rip some things straight from elements of European history and things. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a unique world, I think. But yeah.
I think it is.
That's good.
So you mentioned that there's a series title as well as the title of this book. So is this a duology, trilogy? What are you thinking for this story as a whole?
So this is going to be a trilogy. I'm like 90% sure that it will end at book 3. There's a chance that I could get to like 120,000 words into book 3 and be like, no, there's still more that needs to happen, and it could get extended. But I'm pretty sure it'll be just a trilogy, though I do have an idea for a prequel, which I would like to write at some point. So
yeah. And then I guess you mentioned like your approach changed a little bit.
Yeah, I try. Oh yes, yeah, because from other writing projects I've done, I didn't do a ton of outlining, and I did do a lot more outlining. Even though I didn't follow the outline, I spent a lot more time outlining and a lot more time world building and like thinking about characters and doing like prep work before actually beginning writing. And even during the process of writing, I like kept doing that, like not like research, but that like in the background, like coming up with stuff in the background, like still working on like the world and the characters and the story, even as I was drafting, I think. So, and I think that helped a lot. Was like, I think it's a lot harder for me to start from nothing and make a story than it is to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to come up with a story about this. Like even sometimes when I would get stuck in my draft, I would stop and say, okay, I don't know how to write this scene. So I'd be really stuck trying to write the scene, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll just describe the scene. And I'd be like, in this scene, so-and-so and so-and-so fight about this, and then they realize this, and so they go over here and do that. And like, just having that helps to like, even if that ends up being not what happens, it just helps to have a starting point for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for sharing more about this book, The Call of Wind. And that is going to be, when did you say you're going to try to publish it?
I'm going to publish it it'll be live on Amazon on August 29th, which I believe is a Friday. And it will be in Kindle Unlimited. And I am also going to try to sell it on TikTok Shop. So, and if you buy it there, you might get little bonusy things if I can figure out how to make that happen. So
extras?
Yes. Perhaps.
Amazing.
Almost certainly, but there's always a chance that something goes wrong because I've never done it before. But it will for sure be on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. You're learning all kinds of things with this.
Learning so many things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for telling a little bit more about what's in the book, how you got to having a full book. And yeah, I'm really excited for you. I'm really excited this is happening.
I'm really excited
hopefully
too.
Everybody else is too and reads it immediately and loves it, because how could they have any other reaction?
Thank you. I agree completely.
Great.
All right.
Well, we anxiously await August 29th.
Yes, I most anxiously of all. I'm like, part of me is like, what if I publish it in July? But I'm like, no, give yourself more time than you think you need, Kaylee.
Yeah, have a little buffer.
Have a buffer. Chill.
Yeah. So. All right, cool. Well, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.